the Kenya Kwanza administration. But what are your thoughts on the prioritization of priority areas under this budget? Because it is your taxes, largely, that will be funding many of these projects. But let's move on now to the conversation on the political scene. And this is a fresh clamor now for regional political unions coming up, with influential players leading the initiative in a bid to boost their bargaining power ahead of the 2027 elections. And in studio with me is a host of panelists, including Nuruddin Kagai, advocate of the High Court, Kidi Mwaga, who is a convener of the Interparties Youth Forum, and political analyst Willie Kamau. Now, when you take a look at the front page of the Daily Nation at the bottom there, the headline says, "The return of regional politics." And we have pictures of the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, who insists politics is local anyway, and has defended his push for a united Mount Kenya. Then we have the Nyeri Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, who's a very vocal supporter of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and hails from his county. Then, further aside, we have Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembea's Tawe movement in Western Kenya, which seems to be gaining ground. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula on his end says he wants to end elusive unity by consolidating the Western vote. So it's that historic fight for the Western region, which has always been termed as a battleground, as we would like to say, a swing, swing vote, so to speak. And then finally on the picture there we have Kilifi North MP Owen Bayo, who says coast leaders have put aside their differences for a united front. And you know, Nuruddin, let me begin with you on this one. All these, regional political unions coming up seem to even have validated the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who says everybody is doing regional politics. Everybody is coming up and forming their own regional issues. I mean, look at Wetangula; he's in government, and so what's the big problem when we do it in Mount Kenya? What does the return, so to speak, of regional politics mean? And are we seeing a return, so to speak? Did it ever leave?
That's the question. Did it ever leave? You see, we are a very tribal nation. I'll tell you that. And that stems from the fact that you look at our elections. We might sit here and lie to one another, but the truth of the matter is that during election campaigns, we find ourselves, we run back to our small cocoons, tribal kingpins or kingships, which is absurd if you ask me. But let me play devil's advocate to the Deputy President's statements. You see, he's saying that he's advocating for interests that are peculiar and only known to those from Mount Kenya. And that he says that when he speaks about unity, even those in Western have been speaking about unity. And true to that is that after this election, we were hearing that the Prime Cabinet Secretary and also, as they call him, Papa Waroma, or third in command, they have been telling those who are in ODM and ITAL, come, we work together, let us be united so that we're in the next government, we have a larger share. True to that. So you have a situation where this so-called rise of new kingpins, as you see it, there's one that is under Natembea called Tawe movement, where he feels the old guard need to leave so that he takes over. It's more or less a race or a fight for 2027. And I believe the president is experiencing the heat that he put his predecessor under when he was campaigning during the tenure. And I don't think he should be mad at them, because if you ask me, he's the father of the nation. And he's their teacher. So, and there's something they say about a student masters the art better than the master. So what they are doing, they took a cue from the president. Something called Mapema ni best. So they are saying before 2027, wacha nikuwe nimeshika ground mimi. So that when we go to bargain, and this bargaining is not for the community, there is no single time a community is in the office. It is a person and their cronies and some who get to benefit by proximity to the cronies. Let us be honest, because when taxes like the ones we're having, when they are punitive, even those people in the Valley suffer. There is no single petrol station that is for opposition and there is for government. Okay. So at the end of the day, you find ourselves in a situation where we are already campaigning for 2027, which is the hardest thing, because in this country, we win elections to plan the next election. I ran against Kidi, I win to become a member of parliament. The first thing I do after taking my oath of affirmation is how am I becoming a senator? So the next 5 years I spend in trying to become a senator, I wrestle the incumbent who's a senator, forgetting my duties as a member of parliament. And so we need to rise to the occasion where we understand these people you elect into office, which money do you give them? And when they come to campaign for the next, after 5 years, and they tell you they want a certain job, you ask them, we gave you a certain opportunity. What have you done with that? Because now, the jostling we are seeing, the deputy president is a bit anxious because he's seen the likes of Dini Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wah are trying to prepare a future for themselves.
Right.
And so he feels they need to wait for him. And that is a reality. That tells you everyone is planning for the next election. My question is, who is planning for our next day tomorrow as Kenyans?
Okay. Willie, do you agree with Nurdin? Because politicians are politicians, you know, it's their career. I am thinking about my career progression 5 years from now. So you'd expect that a politician is also thinking about their career progression. That's on an individual level. But are we misinterpreting the conversation? Because we have the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, saying the formation of these regional you know, unions, so to speak, is for a unity of purpose. And the old adage says, you know, in developed countries, the economy shapes politics. But in developing countries, politics then shapes the economy. And so we've seen even the Nyanza region come together and say, look, let's leverage on the resources within these 6 counties in the Nyanza region, come together as a regional bloc, bolster our economic opportunities. While there are those who see these regional blocks as tribal mobilization, are we being short-sighted? Could they actually bring value to Kenyans when they are regional blocks for purpose?
All crises are not bad. This is a very good crisis we are in as a nation, because it's happening just immediately 18 months after William Ruto was re-elected. So how are we going to coexist with this noise for the next, how many months? Maybe 30-something months. So how do we change the economy of our nations, of our country, using the political atmosphere that we have created? Now you see someone like Rigathi Gachagua, until recently, he was struggling to rubber stamp his authority in Mount Kenya as a political kingpin, okay? Until he started speaking about our issues, and then we united behind him. Why? Mount Kenya, and I want to believe other regions too, do not unite behind a person because we love you too much. If you're speaking our language, we will give you the political support you need. So Rigathi Gachagua goes and speaks something that is very dear to the people of the mountain. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. He also goes ahead and says this punitive taxation draconian bill of 2024-25 is going to destroy the people of the mountain. Why? Because statistically, it said that Kenya has about 4 million cars. 2.5 million cars come from the region. We can verify that data. And so when we say that we are going to by the way, for the record, let me say, a single car pays about 17%, 17 items on duties, from VAT to excise duty. So you can see what is happening. And so we are going to kill the economy. Fuel consumption is going to go down. You know, these insurance companies are going to hurt because people will stop paying for, what do you call them, the comprehensive covers, and start dealing with that party. Now, if you look at all these things, the people will benefit at the end of the day. Because Rigathi Gachagua is speaking about what we want to achieve with this regime. And so the only way for William Ruto to slow down Gachagua is do what we want him to do for the people of the mountain. Look at someone like Natembea. He's telling these guys, Wetangula and Musalia, you guys are in government, but we are still struggling. And you want more political power after 2027 to do what? So the only way to slow down Natembea is those guys in government, the 2 brothers in government who are conjoined twins in politics, is to go and deliver to the people of the Mulembe nation. He showed them, we have been in government, and this is what you reap for being in government. Last week I told you something. There's something we, the people of the mountain, need to borrow from the people of the Western region. The people of the Western region, you cannot woo them with political positions. They have held those positions for far too long. The deputy president position, no tribe in this country has produced many deputy presidents than the Mulembe nation. And so they understand these political positions benefit a man and his wife and his family. It is not to the region. If the government is not yours, you're not the head of the government. And so that is where you see William Ruto bailing them in tunes of billions with their sugar manenos. And the other day, was it yesterday, I saw that the government has bailed coffee farmers, was it tea farmers, to a tune of about 60-something billion.
Tea farmers, sugar farmers,
so
right.
we need to benefit economically with these political figureheads in every region, so that by 2027, they are not giving us political stories, we are asking for a scorecard. And so I think these crises are good, they are going to benefit people as far as the economy is concerned, because you cannot unite people on political rhetorics right now. And so far so good. Let this crisis go on and on.
All right, you know, on that motor vehicle tax thing, there are those who say traffic police officers may be the biggest gainers here, because Kenyans won't even get third party. They'll just drive without insurance altogether.
Is there time to eat?
Kidi, your thoughts on this, you know, regional politics? So are we being short-sighted? And it's just regional unity of purpose.
Well, part of why I am a personal believer in President William Ruto is how he got to power without seeking to stroke ethnic cleavages. Remember in 2022, when our side then had outgunned and outmaneuvered President William Ruto in terms of political mobilization, President had a message. And again, goes back to what I was saying earlier, those that were left out and left behind. And he built a beautiful narrative that so many young people bought into. And then when he eventually had the support of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Speaker of the National Assembly, and then other people joining him at the tail end of the campaign, then he just managed to get into office. Again, when the president got into office, one of the things that the president, and I have seen him painstakingly work on it, is how to build a national community out of the segmented ethnic fiefdoms that we have, that we call Kenya. Because, Michelle, look at how the ethnic elites have been changing every elections but then the same issues remain unattended to. Can you imagine that in 2007, the part of the PNU that we're then told was the antithesis of what ODM stood for, is again, that part of PNU became TNA, then it became Jubilee. Then in 2022 elections, all of it had moved back to ODM. And then the sections, a larger section that was in ODM in 2007, by 2022, had pulled out of ODM and now was working at what I would call cross purposes with what ODM stood for in 2022 elections. It is what Professor Francis Fukuyama calls clientelistic politics. So that political leaders only go for ethnic kingpins, and then when these ethnic kingpins are sorted, the presupposition is that people at the grassroots are also happy. I think as we are going forward, as we are building a national community, and I think we must get it clear that I think this administration has been far much so kind to the people of central Kenya, because of the number of cabinet secretaries they have, the people holding positions of responsibility both in the National Assembly and in the Senate, people within the positions of responsibility within the running of government, including the Office of Government Spokesman, the Vice President, among others. So that if there are issues that are affecting the ordinary man from central Kenya, then leaders from central Kenya are in a good position to deal with it. And let me tell you this. The first time, what today you have as the 4 counties of Luo Nyanza, Alfred Mutua used to refer to them derisively then as Luo Nyanza. The only time they received more than 20 billion in a financial year was when we had Prime Minister Raila Odinga joining government in 2008 as Prime Minister. And that when he was there, for the first time, we saw that part of the world that had been abandoned for far too long being opened up. So then, in the same vein and breath, that the president has given the deputy president so many members of the cabinet from his backyard, they are in a better position to help the people of central Kenya while we come together as a nation to build a national community.
Okay.
But,
Right.
because of selfish, short-term, narrow political interests, they may want to build fiefdom and pull away from what other Kenyans are doing. I think that I will plead to fellow young people like Ndindi Nyoro to step up and make sure that a child from a place I come from, Migori, can look at a child from Muranga and say, we are both Kenyans.
Right, I think then that would be more the honors of the deputy president, because
should
outside
have
of
been, should have been,
a regional leader, he is a national leader.
Should have been, but what the deputy president is saying, I think he's appealing to ethnic exceptionalism that we have always seen. And one thing about ethnic exceptionalism, it usually, just behind it, is usually ethnic contempt.
Okay.
That we must reject.
That
we must reject.
Kitty has talked a lot. Okay. And let's start with you, Willie.
You see, whatever is happening right now in the country happened in Uhuru's Kenyatta's second term, not the first term. So William Ruto, in his first term with Uhuru as a deputy president, consolidated his regional bloc, the Rift Valley. All Harambes, everything he was doing, alikuwa anapeleka kwao nyumbani. So after Uhuru's re-election together with his deputy William Ruto, that's when he created now this national figure. There is no way Gachagua can talk about national issues if he has not consolidated his regional support. And how can he consolidate his regional support? You are the deputy president. All economy is local. All politics are local. You are the deputy president. What is it in for us in this government? You went from village to village, consolidating votes for William Ruto. What is it in for us in this government? And that is what Gachagua is bringing home. Before William Ruto can think about nationally, and Gachagua can bring the same way he went from village to village, the same way he consolidated. And that is where you see the problem right now is that everything is happening. You know, a replica of Uhuru's second term is happening in William Ruto's first term. And so there's this quagmire of politics and economics. Where do I go? But I think every leader is doing what they need to do. Look at the Tawe movement. It is based in Western. Look at the coast, the regional leaders in Coast. They are talking about coast issues.
Right.
These are not national leaders.
Nurdin.
I feel like the mediator here. This is very interesting. The truth of the matter is that in Central they have a vacuum, or a quote-unquote vacuum, where they feel that there is no so-called leader. And that is why you see there was that Limuru 3. Because for someone like Martha, she would want to be the spokesperson. For someone like...
And that was a jubilee.
Just calm down. For someone like Martha, she wants to be the spokesperson. For someone like Gachagua, he feels that you guys should be coming through me so that we have one communication. What he says is true. He's trying to consolidate himself so that he is more or less the spokesperson of the mountain. But who benefits from that? It is him, so that when he goes to the table, he bargains. It is for, it's for bargaining. You see, so at the end of the day, I believe the problem we have is that the eye in interest in most politicians, they care more or less about their, like you rightfully said, their career. So he feels threatened by the fact that those other, the youngins are trying to run so fast before they crawl, according to him. So he believes that they should go through him. That is beside the point. I do believe that when the president says that, for example, they are running away from tribalism, in being truthful and honest, he is lying. Because when you look at, for example, he mentioned cabinet. When you look at, for example, the cabinet, let us be honest, two communities have dominated appointments in the cabinet. So you cannot come from an election that you say we kill tribalism in the election and then go and make appointments where two tribes dominate 3/4 of appointments. So who made the government? Just calm down. So there's nothing like, so if you make the government, then pay taxes. Right. So at the end of, then pay taxes and let us have our own government. You see, you cannot lie on one mouth and say there's no tribalism. Then when it comes to appointments, you look at the appointments that are being made. Two communities make a majority of the appointments. So let us be truthful. And if you're going to have a conversation of national unity and a conversation where everybody benefits, then let us live by our words. Okay. Because let's not be a country where I say A and mean B, or I preach water and drink wine when I hide myself. So in as much as we are trying to castigate the deputy president, all of them, I say, all of them are part and parcel of the problem.
Right.
So I believe the
Shambhala
generation
Wanyama.
that is sitting,
Let's put up, just before we continue, let the director put up a picture of page 10 of the People Daily. We must wind up, gentlemen, but let's wind up with that picture before you, yes, before you comment, really. And it's part of the conversation that we are having on page 10 of the People Daily. I'd like to hear your interpretation on that picture, because it seems that the Deputy President is sitting on his seat as the Deputy President, but he has that crown, you know, as the Mount Kenya kingpin, so to speak. But is somebody fueling that fire when it comes to that mountain conversation? This regional politics conversation seems to be creating a fire, according to this picture, that could sort of jeopardize the seat of the DP. Please, yes, very quickly as we wind up, final comments.
Charity begins at home. There is no way you can be supported nationally if you don't have that local support. It's common sense. Let me play the devil's advocate for William Ruto. We are talking of a young generation that these guys are saying that is giving Gachagua sleepless nights. But we as people of that generation, William Ruto, the president of this country, I believe in him because of one thing. If you say you can, he gives you the opportunity to do it. And so he has had these economic advisors from the mountain, okay? Anything related with money, from the budget, you know, to the majority leader who pushes all these policies, from his economic advisor, Akikuyu, all the money-related issues of this country have been handed to the Kikuyu people of a certain generation. Who are they? The people who are adding taxes? Yes. Are they the people advising the president to put more taxes on Kenyans? Yes. William Ruto, by the way, I can exonerate him from that because he's a botany politician who is smart with winning elections, having surrounded himself with a certain generation from a certain region that told him this is the way to fix an economy, and he gave them the opportunity. So me as a person of my generation, with these guys in the same generation, are we oppressed by these guys of our generation with William Ruto's regime? Yes. Should we continue supporting them politically to oppress us? No.
All right. That's a very good point. Kidi, as we wind up.
Well, I wanted to say that my brother Kimani, Kamau, says that you cannot be a leader without a support. And he was likening the Deputy President to then Deputy President William Ruto. I think that we must, context is king, that William Ruto was coming in as President Kenyatta's deputy when he had been MP for 20 years. He had emerged naturally as a leader of the Rift Valley. For instance, when you come to my backyard, for about 30 years, we have supported Raila Amolo Odinga. And I mean, so it would be, I mean, to anything funny.
No, let's wind up. Let's wind up. Remember, the DP also has a huge.
We must remember that the Deputy President was coming into the office of the Deputy President in part because of the magnanimity of spirit of William Ruto. People who are in the room, like CS Moses Kuria, told us that there were people who are possibly more talented, more qualified than the Deputy President when William Ruto was making that decision. But then the President, remember, the Deputy President then had only served for one term as an MP. So the President, in his magnanimity of spirit, said, give me my age mate, Rigathi Gachagua. So then I think that it would be preposterous for anyone to advise the Deputy President to go on an onslaught against the President in trying to build a constituency around him. I wish that he was able to help the President deliver to the people of Kenya and let the succession politics of Mount Kenya take a natural course. As the senior-most political leader in Mount Kenya, I don't see a reason why, if he is able to help the President deliver, why the people of Mount Kenya would not rally around him. But when attempts are made prematurely to try to coerce people, to intimidate people, to bulldoze people into, saying that you're the kingpin, I think it would boomerang And people within this administration who would feel betrayed by such maneuvers might also want to, remind the deputy president that he had only served for one term as MP before he was made deputy president by William Ruto. Thank you.
All right. Many thanks, gentlemen. And, on that picture, it's been taken down. But the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is that of 3 gentlemen who refused to bow to the king. And I don't know what you say about that. Nuruddin, I'm completely out of time.
One second. For me, this reminds me of a book called Enemy of the People. You see, with the tax regime they're putting Kenyans through and the harsh economic times they're putting us through, this government is more or less becoming an enemy of the people. And as they fight each other and wrestle and we watch, all I say is let them cook. The more they fight, the more we fight.
We must wind up. Many thanks. That is Nuruddin Kagai. He's an advocate of the High Court. We've also been speaking to Kidi Mwaga, convener of the Inter-Parties Youth Forum, and political analyst Willie Kamau. Gentlemen, many thanks for your insights on the state of the nation this morning. And thank you to you for watching and engaging us on social media as well. My name is Michelle Ngele Odhiambo. Many thanks for watching. Good morning.